Start.
Okay. In the absence of President Newton, I'm going to go ahead and call the study session for November 9th to order. And Madam Clerk, if you do a roll call for us, please.
Sure. Director Brett Eccles.
Here.
Director Arthur Perry. Secretary Arlene Schaefer. Here. Vice President Mike Schaefer.
Present.
President Robert Uten.
On his way, apparently. Public comments. This is the time that has been set aside for those in the audience to make comments on items within our jurisdiction that are not listed on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests for public comment?
We did receive late public comment last night, which was forwarded to the board and is included for the public's review.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak this morning? We have some folks on Zoom. Nobody on Zoom that wishes to speak under public comments? Just shake your heads no if you're not. Okay, I see shaking heads no. So we'll move on to our items of study. And Scott, you want to start us off with item 1?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So wastewater rate studies are periodically performed to determine if the district is generating enough revenues to meet expenditures. The last wastewater rate study was done nearly 10 years ago, and the last rate adjustment was in 2017. As you know, in the last 5 years, expenditures have been exceeding revenues. In fact, the current budget cycle, district had used reserve funds to balance the wastewater budget because expenditures are exceeding revenues. On July 1st, 2021, the district solicited proposals from qualified professional consultants to prepare a wastewater rate study that describes justifications and calculations for an annual wastewater charges. When proposals were due on August 5th, the district received 3 proposals that ranged in cost from $29,500 to $67,569. The consulting firm Robert D. Nyhouse Incorporated, or RDN, submitted a proposal that is considered best value to the district and was awarded a contract for $29,500. This morning, RDN's senior financial analyst, Ichiko Kido, and her team will be giving a presentation of their rate study describing the justifications and calculations of the proposed adjustments. At the conclusion of Ms. Kito's presentation, staff is seeking feedback and direction from the board of directors, but recommend holding off any decisions until the Citizens Advisory Committee had a chance to review the proposed rates, which they are doing tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. We still have, just FYI for your information, we still have November 16th as a placeholder when you want to meet again to discuss the rates, or we can discuss at your regular board meeting on November 22nd. And December 14th study session meeting is available as well. But before we make a decision, before you make a decision when you want to meet again, let's begin with a presentation. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Ichiko Kido of RDN. So Ichiko, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. If I may share my screen, I would appreciate it. Let's see. Thank you so much. Please let me know when you can see the screen. Are you good? Yeah. Okay. Well, hi everyone. My name is Ichiko Kido. I am the project manager for this study. I am here with Zach Van Nenter and Anthony Ellersky. Today we are from RDN, an economic consulting firm located in Santa Barbara. We've been around for almost 40 years. Most of our clients are in this area, including LA, San Bernardino, and the Orange counties. I would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our findings to you all today. The district staff and the team RDN collaborated together and worked very closely for the last couple of months. Special thanks to Scott, Mark, and Caitlin, extremely responsive, provided us high quality data right away as requested. We are grateful to have had the chance to work with such a capable group of people. So we want to thank you again for choosing us to do this important study for the district. First, we want to share some of the key assumptions that we initially made. We are projecting, this is the current growth projections, the figure you're looking at. We are projecting about 160 to 200 new accounts per year. We are also expecting a fairly big number of accessory dwelling units. You might have heard that term. We normally call it ADUs. We're expecting those units to grow as well during this study period. Homeowners are taking the advantage of AB Assembly Bill 68, which loosens some of the restrictions around such units. Now, one of the attempts we made in this study was to establish an ADU charge for the sewer service. Overall inflation, fuels, utility, energy, equipment, all of those expensive items are categorized and escalated using BLS data for LA, Long Beach, Anaheim. We normally use a 20-year average to escalate expense items in the district budgets. Now, personal expense you see here, it breaks down to the cost of living component and additional merit component of about 2.4 to 2.6%, which total about 5% combined. These numbers were derived based on the district's historical data. You also see construction cost here. To capture the recent trend, we used a 5-year average for this expense item. Most of the capital improvement project costs escalated using this inflation factor. We used engineering news record, ENR, LA Building Cost Index as a source. Now, the highest escalation factor we derived is the insurance cost. As you can see, the district has experienced some very steep increase in the recent years. So each expense item in the district's budget, we used these escalation factors, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6, 7 escalation factors, and itemized and escalated for the future years. And the study period is 5 years. So fiscal year 25 and 26 will be the last year of that 5-year study period. Here's the current rates. Your district is charging single-family residential customers, all single-family residential customers, an annual charge of $92.38. Multifamily residential customers are charged $54.21. Non-residential customers, commercial, you categorize into 2 groups. Average strength discharge customers and high strength discharge customers. High strength discharge customers, restaurants is the good example. The discharge has high content of BOD and TSS. So those customers are charged an annual fee based on their per square footage. And the 1 unit of those charges is established per 1,000 square feet. So that district determines as 1 unit. Industrial customers, their charge is $105.48. So residential customers and non-residential customers are slightly using a different method to create the charges. here's your revenue and expense comparison figure. You can see, I hope you're able to see these small letters here. Fiscal year 2020, 2021, this is the current year. I'm sorry, last year. And then current year is 21, 22. You can see the red bar being expense is consistently exceeding the blue bar, which is the revenue bar. So this is the clear reason why you need some rate adjustments at this point. So here we have key operations and expenses. Some of the major operating and maintenance expenses that we saw in the district's budget. I don't know if the district staff want to take over and explain what. Maybe I can just keep going, reading down the list. Maybe
Yeah, if you just keep going, we'll be available to answer any questions if the board has any questions on these items. So you can please proceed.
Okay, will do. So the district is planning to add 2 wastewater maintenance workers. We're estimating that cost associated with that hire is $265,000. General engineering support and resource, that's another $25,000. Flow master rental and cloud access technical stuff, $45,000, and IT security maintenance and monitoring, $17,000. Those are the costs. I think the major expense items that district included in the planning document. Capital outlay, 1 combo cleaning unit, that's a big item, $464,000, 1 pickup truck and 1 forklift. So when I asked the district staff, to list some of the O&M expenses and the capital outlay, those are the items that they decided to include in this presentation. And the next slide shows some of the bigger items, capital improvement projects. You have several of them scheduled for the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think I'm going to read down the list, but some of the big items you can see: 4th main replacement rehabilitation. It's about $3.7 million. Miscellaneous, I'm sorry, manhole rehabilitation, $1.6 million. Pump station rehabilitation, $1.4 million. So all of these capital improvement projects need to happen again during the study period of 5 years, and maybe some of them might, go over the initial 5 years and carry it over to the next 10 years. Including those expense items, and we look at revenues, non-operating revenues, all those items, and come up with revenue requirements. You've been looking at this scale, you can see the cost and revenue are balanced, right? Now, people have a tendency to forget, Costa Mesa is municipal, and as a public agency, you cannot make any profits. So the cost has to nicely balance with revenue. The left side of the scale include capital expense, O&M expense, the items that you've seen, and some reserve contribution. You need to have a healthy reserve as a system. And the right side, you see non-operating revenues and the miscellaneous charge revenues. Those non-rate revenues offset the actual total revenue requirements and try to extract the pure portion of revenue that you need to collect from customers' rates. The test year that we are implementing the rates, we are looking at about $6.3 million for the revenue requirements. Now, what the percentages that you are looking at is our recommendation of revenue, overall revenue adjustments. This does not translate into the rate increases directly, but overall 9.9% annual revenue adjustment is needed for your district to balance out that scale that you looked at. Now, the green bar represents when you do not do anything at all, you do not make any adjustments, and you can see by the 5th year, your reserve balance, cash balance goes below 0. So that's the red bar you are looking at here. That's not sustainable as a system, and to provide a safe service to customers, you cannot have negative cash balance. If you were to implement the proposed rates, your financial planning will take you, this financial planning will take you to the blue bar reserve balance. So that by the 5th year, you will have about $10 million in cash reserve. Now, this is a healthy reserve level for the district your size. The reserves are very important. You know, it's the emergency money. And if anything happens at all, you will be able to continue your operation for the customers and keep providing safe services. So there is the revenue adjustments. And we listed some of the terms for the reserve balances that we gathered from the district document. Your operating reserve, about we're targeting 25% of total operating and maintenance expense. You also have asset replacement fund, and you have asset management fund. Asset replacement fund funds smaller items like replace vehicles, computers, and equipments. Now, asset management fund, this fund is used to pay for some of the bigger capital improvement projects. So we looked at one of the first things we did was to look at the old study that was performed in 2012. And one of the big things we noticed right away is the total flow, estimated total flow. They used this number, 11.1 million gallons per day. And in the latest master plan, 2020 master plan, the total flow was about 8.6 million gallons per day. So you can see significant reduction there. Another item that we looked at is the per capita usage for residential customers. They, in the old study, they used two numbers, one for single family residential customers, and they used a different number for multifamily residential customers, 55 gallons per day, per capita per day for single family, and 40 for multifamily residential customers. Now, we researched, documents, resources, different resources, and we determined that it is fair to say everybody, per person level, everybody would use the same amount of water. We use the same, amount, number of, we will probably go to the bathroom about this, 4 or 5 times a day, and we probably take a shower once a day. So sewer service charge try to capture indoor water use, right? So to differentiate those numbers, to us, it didn't make sense. So we used the same number for all residential customers. Now, to mitigate rate impact, we do not want to do too many different things. We don't want to implement too many new approach or like methodologies into this rate study. So we try to maintain what they have done in the past, and we heavily implemented numbers and information from a master plan, and we created proposed rates. So what you are seeing here is just a few things that we did differently this time around. Now, what we looked at in the process of this study is the household size. So instead of saying for multifamily residential customers, they use less water per day, what we tried to look at is the household size based on the housing unit. So single family residential customers, how many people are living in that household. Same thing, multifamily residential customers. And we tried to reflect the ratio to the charges. Now you can see what we did is we obtained ACS data on owner occupied and renter occupied number of housing. And we also obtained population data and then for the same area, and we calculated household size for the zip code 9266 and 9267. That's the two zip codes that we found for your district. So single family residential customers, we isolate them. We found the average weighted average is about 2.95. And we did the same thing for multifamily residential customers. We did the same calculation for all the units that had more than 2 units in it. And weighted average for multifamily residential customers came to about 2.52. We also calculated the household size for trailer customers. And as you can see, the number is 2.39. Again, we are trying to establish accessory dwelling unit charge. So we wanted to look at their household size, and our estimate based on the Newport Beach City data and consulted with them and got this number, which is 1.25. So we were able to nicely establish different household sizes, and based on that, we created different ratio. So what you are seeing here is that the EDU equivalent dwelling unit, when we say single family residential customers is 1, the charge needed to be scaled down for multifamily residential customers to 85% of the single family residential customers. Same for the trailer, 81% of single family residential customers charge will be applied to trailer customers. For ADUs, we use 42% of the single family residential customers charge. So this is our foundation. This became our foundation to establish the proposed rates. Now this figure, what you're looking at is cost of service, the result of cost of service analysis. You saw the revenue requirements in the earlier slide. Now we have to decide how we're going to allocate that cost among all different customer classes. So we do this analysis based on the discharge flow, and as a result, we saw some shifts, not a lot, but small shifts between customer classes. So I would like you to take a look at the single family residential customers, those 2 percentages, 34.3%, that's the current cost of service of single family residential customers. What that means is that single family residential customers are responsible to take the share of 34.3%. They're responsible to pay the revenue requirements at 34.3% point. And then for the new study, the current study indicated that their cost share should be a little bit less, 32.2%. Now, these shifts happen over the 5-year period. The last study, Scott indicated it was 2012. So these shifts are normal, to see the cost allocation between these customer classes will change. That's actually the primary reason why we do the rate study. Now, here are the proposed rates. Single family residential customers, their bill will go up from $92.38 to $95.18. Very slight increase. This is again annual bill. Multifamily residential customers, they will be impacted the most, but their charge will go from $54.21 to $72.04. Commercial customers with average strength, very slight change, $41.09 to $41.50. Commercial customers with high strength, again, very small change here, $44.81 to $46.21. Industrial customers, again, same thing, about like a 50 cents increase from 105.48 to 106.87. Trailer customers, again, will be impacted, 54.21 to 67.18, yes. And accessory dwelling units, there was no charge established under the current rates, but we are proposing that the district start charging for those units for the amount of $34.99. So you can see those charges in numbers here. Okay, so here's the rate comparison. Again, we included a lot of agencies here, but the green bar is the proposed rates and the red bar is your current rate. So still, you're maintaining one of the lowest charge in the region. Again, here are the rates. You can see the current rates in comparison to those proposed rates, and we are proposing 9.9% increases, annual increases, adjustments, so that by the 5th year, 2026 and 27, the charge today is $95.18, will go up to $138.85 for single family residential customers. So what you are seeing here is captures for the next 5 years. Now, for the proposed rates for the commercial non-residential customers, we also calculated a median bill for commercial one, that's the average strength. The typical customers, their billing units, we talked about per billing unit is 1,000 square feet. Their median square footage is 13.5. So we calculated their bill using that number. The bill currently is 556, and then that bill will be adjusted upward to $561. Same for commercial 2 customers. Their median billing units currently is 34.9, and you can see the slight increase in their bill. District customers, their billing unit currently is 12.1. That's the typical customers billing number of units. And you can see again the slight increase there.
Here.
Is it? That was a kind of bigger picture of a study. If you have any questions, anything at all, we are happy to answer.
This has been a massive effort. It just seems when you tell a customer it's going to be 9.9% per year, I think where we've failed is the policies that have got us to this point. The 9.9% is minimal. It's hardly any money difference in a monthly rate or even an annual rate. But it's just sort of stupefying that we've gotten ourselves to a point where we need to have 10% per year rate increases. And I think the policies that have led us to that should be examined versus this particular study. I'm not sure we can expend all the money that staff has estimated we need in the way of projects and equipment and whatnot, but I think it's a very conservative approach. But I think what I'd like to see in the future is a discussion on what has got us to the point. We're at this point. When I came on the board in 2006. We were looking at a 50% rate increase, but at that point it was only $19 a year or something. I can't really quibble with with the information, except I think it's conservative and probably appropriately conservative. But when I tell a customer it's going up 80 cents a month, I think they can stomach that. But when the neighbor tells them, well, that's really 9.9% or 10%, that'll astound them.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few questions on just the presentation itself. If I'm reading it correctly, I mean, the average rate of inflation across the board 2.5, and then for utilities short of 5. So if I'm interpreting this correctly, we're talking about a 50% rate increase by year 5. So that's far outpacing a 5% inflation. So our spending is too high. Am I interpreting that correct from your presentation?
I think you also got to take into consideration, we haven't had a rate adjustment in 5 years.
Right.
So you got to take into consideration those CPI increases too.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, there is definitely some catch up that we need to do. Yes.
Okay. And then where did you come up with the ADU proposed rate?
So we estimated one accessory dwelling unit will be occupied about between 1 and 1.5 persons. And based on that, once we established single family residential customers charge, we scaled it down. So as you saw earlier, let's see if we can find that slide. I think it was before, no, after, sorry. Let me take you there really quick so that you can see again. Here, we estimated for single family residential customers household size to be 2.95. And here we estimated an accessory dwelling unit number to be 1 to 1.5. Actually, that's your estimate, the estimate in your master plan as well. So we used that number of persons for the ADU and scaled it down the single family residential customers to create accessory dwelling unit. So accessory dwelling units charge will be 42% of a single family residential customers charge.
Okay, great.
Does that
Thank
make
you.
sense? Yeah.
Thank you for that. And then looking at our regional comparison, I mean, I see with the proposed rate increase, we're still at the right side, but that doesn't compare to the 50% increase in year 5 will be on the middle to left side of that, correct?
Let me ask you, you also have to take into other organizations are going to increase in their rates too.
It's a guess.
Right. So I mean, but if you want to keep everything stable, if everyone's rates are the same as it is, you know, in year 5, we're still looking at less than $12 a month.
Where, how often in general are these other?
They're adjusted
utilities?
annually. I've seen them adjusted. They're adjusted annually.
Okay. And then, so I guess then a question for you, Scott. Why are we looking at a 5-year? Why not look at a 1 or 2 year, follow our budget cycle?
Because then you have to do a Prop 218 hearing every time you do an area increase, and that adds more cost to us. So typically when you look at organizations, a lot of times they'll do a 5-year rate adjustment, and you just do that Prop 218 hearing one time. And then those 5 rates go into effect for those 5 preceding years.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm going deeper than I expected because actually I'm not sure why we're doing this before the Citizens Advisory Committee does their work. I appreciate the presentation, but I'm not sure we should go too far down on this until they review and.
That's our recommendation. It's just
Yeah.
really get your comments on it. Again, we originally were going to put it on the 16th, but today was where we're going to schedule the survey, the citizen survey, but it wasn't ready. So, okay, well, let's bump this up, at least have the first look at it, just get your feedback, comments. We're not looking at any directions today because we definitely want to give the Citizen Advisory Committee opportunities. Then today, please send us when do you want to meet again. We could meet again on the 16th if you want to, or on the regular meeting on the 22nd, or at a study session. Then you can really dive in and give us some directions and what you want to do.
Perfect. Thank you. I agree.
I have a question, Bob. Okay, Scott, if we do pass a 5-year increase, we can always adjust it after 2 years, can't we?
It can go down. You can just go down.
It could go down.
Yes, you can't.
We
If
have
you're
that
going to go and increase it, then you have to do another Prop 218 hearing, but you don't have to do a Prop 218 if you're going to decrease it.
Right, exactly. That was what Brett's getting at too.
Yes, so the rates charges that you see here, those are the cap, the maximum amount you can go. So, you know, if 1 year in any given year, you decide not to increase as much, let's say you saw a huge development and you have like, you know, 200 new customers and you generate, you know, extra revenue, let's say, then you can actually lower the proposed rates, but you cannot go higher. Once we present this, once we include this table in the proposition 218 notice, these you know, these numbers suggest that, you know, these are the cap, the absolute max rates that you can go up to in given years.
Mr. President, Alan Burns here. Scott, do we have a date that we're thinking about for after the 45-day postcard and the public hearing notice and all that? What date are we shooting for to have the public hearing?
I don't have the exact date, but we're shooting probably February, March to have the hearing.
Oh, okay. It looked like we were heading for November, December for approving.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay, fine, great.
March of 2022.
Yeah. When Mike left, yes, he'd like to have a meeting on the 16th. So that just, I'm not sure if the rest of the board wants, but I think we need to have more discussion.
Oh, yeah.
No, this is a lot of material to digest. You know, I've read it several times. And you've answered some of the questions, but so I would suggest that we do have a meeting on the 16th.
So
That's already planned, isn't it?
it's still in the, yes, we still have it available. We didn't, yes, if you want it on the 16th. Sure.
And Mr. President, what time on this?
8 o'clock in the morning.
It's another study session. And then just before we move on, I don't know if there's public comment or anything else we want to hear today. I would, yeah.
Probably do.
Thank you, President Uten, members of the board. My name is Jim Mosher. First of all, I noticed that the slides were available in the binder that we have here. So apparently they were available before the meeting. I would think it would be helpful for your Citizens Advisory Committee to be able to see them before they come here tomorrow night.
It's in their study. It's in their packet too.
And
Jim, speak into the,
yes, for those wanting to study it in more depth, has the actual waste study been posted yet? Or will it be?
You're talking the wastewater waste, right? Wastewater.
Yes.
Yes, the study itself has not been posted. No, it hasn't. Once we get more direction from the board, then we'll post the draft study.
Yeah. For those wanting to know where the slides came from, it's very helpful to see the actual study, which I assume has been completed and is available. First comment I had is that the initial assumption we heard that the district is going to be adding 166 to 172 new dwellings per year seems an underestimate based on the new RENA numbers that the city of Costa Mesa has. I'm not sure what that number is, but in the city of Newport Beach, it's about 5,000 dwellings to be added in the next 8 years, which figures out to like 600 a year, not under 200. I think Costa Mesa is even more than that. So I'm wondering how that affects the rate study. There will be more gallons of waste causing more wear and tear on the infrastructure, but it will also be spread over more ratepayers than we are assuming here. So I would assume that would have some effect if it's unrealistic. What the 200 is, or 160 to 172, seems very low compared to that. And we understand the state is going to kind of enforce the new housing mandate. So those units may actually appear. And then the second comment I had was that the way the presentation went is kind of confusing, and maybe to the Citizen Advisory Committee. Up until the last slide, it looked like we were talking about a very modest increase. It was showing single family homes going from $92 to $95. And that's just the rate increase for the initial year. And it was not clear that it's going to be that plus 10% a year every year after that for the next 5 years. And in addition, it's not just 10% per year for the multifamily, which is quite a few ratepayers. They will be seeing an initial jump from $54 to $72, which is a huge jump. And then on top of that, 10% per year after that. So both of those things I think need to be qualified, and I believe that's all I wanted to say at this time. Thank you.
thank you, Jim.
What Jim's saying too, the city last night, the housing element goes out to 2029. So that's something that they're progressing with. Last night's meeting was a step for the next meeting. So it goes out for, and they're anticipating a big, like Jim says, a big increase in housing elements and people moving in. Because they're looking at all open land right now in Costa Mesa for possible building. So Jim has a good point.
But those city estimates, I didn't watch the meeting last night, but they must be available on, that's important information. Any other directors have input?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. Just as we in the upcoming meetings go through this, I'd like to see a little bit more of a historical breakdown from the other entities as well, because you had mentioned, some have yearly increases, others have some sort of basis point of what we're talking about. Because I think we all agree we have to do something. And I agree with President Newton's comments earlier. I mean, whatever it is, we're here now, but we have to do something. But at the end of the day, we still have to face the ratepayers too and go 50% increase, huh? Got to have just the more information as we study this, and we'll see where we're at. And then, maybe we come up with a lesser impact and what that does to our financials. So I think some more information I'd like to see, whether it's next week or the week after. And obviously the Citizens Advisory Committee would be curious to see what their input is. So thank you.
Yeah, actually in 2006, we had a 50% rate increase, but it went from $19 a month or $19 a year to $38 a year. 50% sounded like a lot back then, but any other directors' comments?
I think we can discuss it more at the next meeting on the 16th.
On the 16th, yes. So if any directors or public have further questions, I'd suggest they get them to us. And, as we tend to try to sleep on this. Okay, let's go on to the next item then.
Thanks, Ichiko. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
And I would suggest, I went to the Mesa rate increases many years ago, and it was important in the recommendation when staff comes back with a recommendation is that these are not to exceed numbers. So that if we can't do all these CIP projects and or buy all this equipment in the 5-year period, we can make some adjustments, and I guess I'd like to know how that is made. I guess we have to annually vote on the proposed increases. So at that time, we can make choices. So the recommendation needs to be clear that these are maximum rate increases. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now we need to go to the item number 2, which is the Code Enforcement Officer's report.
Thank you, Mr.
David,
President. David
thank you.
Griffin will be giving us a report.
Morning, President Newton, members of the board, staff. I'm here to present the October Code Enforcement Report. The report summarizes major points for 3 ordinance enforcement topics covering scavenging, graffitiing, and trash container enforcement. For the month of October, the CMSD interim code enforcement officer focused his efforts on patrols in various parts of the community. The goal is to identify and deter instances of scavenging in residential trash carts left within the public view. In the month of October, the district saw a number of complaints filed with the CMSD interim code enforcement staff regarding scavenging activity in the city. As with most scavenging complaints, the alleged violations take place in the early morning hours. In order to address the residents' concerns, the interim code enforcement officer is patrolling the streets by 6:30 a.m. Included below are instances of scavenging that were detected while the officer was investigating specific complaints. Month of October, I had interaction with 6 scavengers listed with maps. Joanne Street, Brookline, which is a condominium complex over off of Vanguard in Fairview, Scott Place, Santa Ana Avenue, and another instance on Santa Ana, and then another instance on Hanover Drive. Any questions about those? Trash container enforcement. I tagged a total of 22 carts located throughout the city. Again, the list is here. Arnold, Bucknell, Columbia, Hamilton, Helena, Iowa, Rhode Island, Circle, Shalimar, Town, Vassar Place, Whittier, and Westbrook Place. No cases of graffiti. The scavenging report is indicated on the back by days. 2 on Monday and 4 on Wednesdays. I did some training last month and had some time off, so my numbers are again very low. But I'm out there, I think I'm making a difference. I mean, you see the scavenging has gone down. A lot less public carts in public view.
The one on Wednesday for 4, was that scavenger?
4 of them were on Wednesdays, and then 2 of them were on Mondays. So West Side.
Okay, thank you.
Some in your area there.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, but it's gone down.
Good.
And I just want to follow up and commend you. Yes, scavenging is a bugaboo for me, and the way you brought those numbers down, it commendable. So thank you. And you're doing it in the right way, and the not with the sledgehammer, but carrot and all that. So thank you. I really appreciate you working on that, bringing those numbers down.
Thank you, Director Eccles. Any further questions?
No, thank you, David.
Not a problem. Have a great day.
Okay, we go on to item number 3, review and comment on the 2021 cart-to-cart outreach results. Nabilia, are you going to do this report?
Yes, Mr. President. Maybe a good to be given this report.
Good morning, President and members of the board. In September, myself and Mike Carey from CRNR visited 3 neighborhoods over 3 weeks. We visited Eastside Costa Mesa, College Park, and the single-family neighborhood right past the 55 here on Paularino. We visited 180 homes, and broken down in the staff report is 13 homes received an oops tag for not placing their organic carts out. 112 homes, or 62.22%, received an awesome tag for having yard waste in their cart, and 31.11 or 56 carts received an OO, meaning that they had trash and recycling in their organics cart. I would like to note that only out of the 180 homes, only 7 homes had food in their cart, which is 3.88%. On week 3, one resident received a $25 gift card for having their cart out with the correct contents in there. So this effort will be replicated in December, visiting Thursday. The Thursday trash day, will be visiting 3 different neighborhoods on Thursdays. And again, this is just to see how our community is participating, what the participation rate is with the organics card, just get some more information. Are they putting food out? Try to change our messaging for outreach. What can we do to help? What can we do to encourage residents to dispose of food in the organics cart? That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Nabilia or Scott, is there some way we can get proper distance between staff so that when they're giving their reports, I can have a little trouble understanding.
Me too.
So you just want us to take our mask off, what you're saying?
Yeah, that'd be great.
We will do that. Yes.
Well, Nabilia, did you say you were going to repeat these results in?
Yes, we'll repeat the efforts in December. So this will be done quarterly.
What I would suggest is when you repeat the results, you maybe decide on X number of areas. You use 3 this time. That you give that you put out some education ahead of time to those particular areas, and see if that makes a difference in the study results. because our ultimate goal over the next couple of years is to do, major education. I think this is a good start. But I think we also could, begin to devise the education efforts that we're going to do over the next couple of years and pre-warn those particular residents in the study areas and see if that makes any difference. I know it's a small sample size, but and that'll give us some idea about how effective our preliminary guesstimate of the education materials would be.
Nabila, when are you going out again on Thursday?
Yeah, so we'll begin the first week in December and we'll be doing the Thursday routes. This September, we went out on Wednesdays.
Well, does staff have time to prepare some education materials and distribute them?
I can definitely work with Gina to post something on social media.
Yeah, I mean, just the little things that,
Well, if you're only going to go on Thursdays, it's a specific area. Can you give information out to those specific area residents? I mean, that's what Bob's
Yeah.
getting at.
Yes, correct. So last year in September, I visited the Monday route. The 3 neighborhoods that are serviced on Monday. September, it was Wednesday, and December, it'll be on Thursdays.
Question, when you go to, on Thursday, you don't go to the whole area that's being picked up. You go to.
No, it takes a long time to look in each cart and place.
Yeah,
the
that's what I
tag.
mean. I mean, maybe if
So
you
we can
give,
only, it takes about
because that's,
2.5 hours to do.
that's
this.
usually the upper Bird Streets, lower Bird Streets, Mesa Verde, area
It would
one.
just take a few streets within
Oh.
those neighborhoods.
Okay, so that Bob is saying, maybe give them information that you're coming to a specific area and then see if that makes a difference.
This is for cans.
Yeah, but they're looking in the
the
cans.
carts, yeah.
Looking for the,
Oh,
what's going
Yeah,
on.
and Amelia, I think, I gave you some information. I did a personal survey.
have a comment.
One of the needs eventually is that the carts be properly labeled. And maybe you could do, so what I did, I went out and looked at 75 organic carts, and it was very dismaying about the labeling. The decals were missing on a certain number of carts, and they were partially missing on a certain number of carts, and they were all there on certain number. So the regulations require that the carts be properly labeled. And so we need to begin the discussions with CR&R about how to keep those particular labels on. There's different ways of applying the labels, and the one we have now is only partially effective. So when you go out, how many residents did you visit?
180 homes over the 3 weeks.
180? Yeah. So, do a follow-up. I looked at 75 carts and have some information on that. I'm certainly going to talk to my gardener about when you're in my neighborhood.
Okay. I have a suggestion. I know this is going to blow everybody away, but I went to the Roger Neff Park dedication for the Neff Park. And at that time, we had a real big turnout, and I talked with a lot of the people there. And as I talked, I found that they are not educated on what we're doing at all. And I know we've done everything we can as far as newspapers, as far as mailings, as far as trying, but this is my thought. I think that we should really have a workshop type, I don't care what you want to label it, and have the CR&R, us, and hopefully the city. And at that time, all come together, and we had a liaison meeting. And at that meeting, Mike, who is CR&R, did a fantastic presentation explaining each cart and what goes in, and then going through questions. These people have so many questions. I mean, you can't believe, I felt like a walking dictionary trying to tell them everything about the green card, about what they're allowed to do at the other carts. And at this would be an opportunity. We could do it on a Saturday. We could have all three identities, which would have strength in it, because we're actually all over the city, and people need to know what's going on and what they're doing. They are not familiar of all the items that are being put into the different carts, no matter how you look at it. We're doing legwork, trying so hard. And I thought our newspaper was excellent and that we could get things across. Apparently, they're still asking questions that are unreal. So my thinking is that we put this on our agenda for our next meeting, our board meeting this month, and be able to talk about it and decide if we want to do something like this. I think it'd be a tribute to us, because this is something mandated. They don't understand whether we do it or not. It's mandated. We have to do it. And this is something we have to get across to the people. And they have to understand this. And on a Saturday, we could take a couple of hours, tell them, whatever we're going to is, and have all the three identities be there. And anyway, I want to throw it out to you just as a thought. I know it's, but after going to that meeting, in that I should say that dedication, and listening to all these people, I thought, oh, wow, I'm frustrated. So.
Well, it is a huge opportunity, and it's regulatorily required that we spend the next 2 years educating the public. And I think the city, in that presentation, the city indicated that they would have to have lots and lots of meetings, and all three entities would need to be involved. I agree with you. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what goes in each cart. Eventually, all the lids will be properly labeled. I don't think that'll make a lot of difference. My wife's walking group of 4 people, when they went out to look at their cart, the labels were in disarray. I came to the district and got refrigerator magnets. I think those things need to be available, even though they're a large expense. But when someone's trying to decide what to put in the organic cart, they're not going to go out and look at the top of their cart, likely. It needs to be something right in the kitchen that, is readily available. Anyway, we've got a huge opportunity. These behavior changes that Arlene is speaking about, public's going to have to hear it 3 times in a very effective way before they make the changes.
And thank you, Mr. President. And I agree with Secretary Schaefer. So maybe we could agendize this at a future meeting. I mean, we do have some time, because I've got, Newport Beach is right there. And I'll tell you from experience, because I'm down there every day at my mom's house in Corona Del Mar. We're here and they're like way back here on education and trash cards. So, and I see that Newport was through some good budgetary cycles, has some money. So if we combine our forces with Newport, with Costa Mesa, the question will be, how do we get people there? Who wants to show up and talk trash? I get it. So we're going to have to get creative. So I'd like to see that at a future meeting.
Well, if the board remembers, before we rolled out the organic recycling program, we had 8 town hall meetings and they were packed. Hundreds of people.
Good.
So I think this is not a bad idea. I think it's a good suggestion. I think people will come because it's something they can understand. And it's close to them. They see it every day. So what we'll do, we'll reach out to the city and CNR and try to work up some dates, and we'll bring it back to you on November 22nd to get some more comments on you. But I do believe that, and this would also meet those education requirements. We can prove that to Cal Recycle that, look, hey, we've had a dozen workshops. Here's how many people showed up. Hopefully that'll move the needle, where we're hoping they'll move the needle. And we can stick with a 2-cart system. So yeah, there's some promises here. I think that I have faith in this community. We'll get a lot of participants.
Great, thank you.
Well, I think the participants, that'll be a one-time hearing of what we want them to do. And historically, to change behaviors, it takes at least 3 times. So, I mean, beyond the town hall meetings, we're going to have something that they take home and take to heart. Anyway, this is a huge opportunity over the next couple of years. And, Nabi has started the process where she goes out and does that work. It's a huge opportunity and a very necessary opportunity. Anyway, Jim, did you want to comment on this? Wait, are all the directors done?
Yes, thank you, President Newton. I believe this is a repeat of a report we heard at the Solid Waste Committee.
Mhm.
And I agree with you that labeling is important. Organic carts are likely coming in January in Newport Beach. And I don't think they're making much of an education effort. Last Saturday, we had our neighborhood meeting in our little cul-de-sac where I live. And I was telling the people there, because we have a pool and we would have to have an organic cart by our pool. The immediate question was what container pet waste goes in, which is one I can never remember what the answer is to. As to the report, it was a little more extensive at the Solid Waste Committee. And for those directors not totally understanding what Nabila is telling you, I believe this survey consists of looking at lifting the lid of the organic cart and verifying that it does not have incorrect stuff in it. And second, looking to see if it does have food scraps on top. And as was apparent at the Solid Waste Committee meeting, that can be a little deceptive as to when you're giving people an awesome or an oops card, because first of all, the absence of food scraps on the top of the organics cart does not mean that they're not in there somewhere else. And it does not mean that they absolutely are being put in the other cart incorrectly. At my home, I don't put out any food scraps because I compost them. So the person might be complying completely with the program and not be putting them in that cart. And likewise, somebody who does put the food scraps in may be putting other organic stuff in the mixed waste cart incorrectly. So giving them an awesome card without looking to see what is in their mixed waste cart could be a little deceptive. So if it's possible, I would recommend lifting the lid of the mixed waste cart also to see if it had any obvious organics in it, because there does appear to be a problem with people not understanding that, which is evident from the last diversion report that you got from CR&R, which is now a couple of years out of date. But the last report you have was from your July 2019 study session. That covered the period of July 2018 through June 2019. So the program was in operation at that time, and I don't think behavior has changed since then. That report said that there were 10,000 tons per year of organics being collected from the green carts. Out of the mixed waste carts, there were 6,000 tons of paper being recovered, but also 6,000 tons, it said, of recovered green waste and organic fines. So while we're collecting a lot in the green carts, they were claiming that they were being able to recover and divert a very large amount of organic green waste and organic fines out of the mixed waste carts. And that is the amount they said they were recovering. So that would imply there's even more that they can't recover, and possibly cardboard and paper that they can't recover because it's contaminated. So we really need to understand what's going into the mixed waste carts as well as the organic carts. And we also need to understand how that total, which seems to add up to 22,000 tons per year of organics, compares to Mr. Ballier's wild guess that Costa Mesa as a whole is producing 50,000 tons. At that liaison meeting where we heard Mr. Ballier's report, their sustainability coordinator, Ms. Afewerki, said that the details of the overall picture in Costa Mesa is all in the report that they send each year to Cal Recycle. I asked her if it was possible to see a copy of that report. I don't know if the district has ever seen the report that Costa Mesa sends to Cal Recycle. She said she would be happy to provide it to me, but when I emailed her asking to see the report, she forwarded it to Mr. Ballier and I have not seen it. So I don't know if their report of what they're collecting and where it's coming from in Costa Mesa is like a printed report, or it's just some kind of computer form that they fill out and don't have a summary that they keep or what. But there is still a great mystery what the overall picture is for Costa Mesa, how this district fits into it, and what is actually happening within this district, because I don't know that these reports from CRNR, that 10,000 tons in the green cart, 6,000 tons of paper, and another 6,000 tons of organic in the mixed carts. I don't know if those are at all reliable. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Well, Jim, I think the 10,000 tons is what we've are charged for. So I expect that's the most viable number.
Yes, yeah, I believe that they probably weigh how much comes in the green cart so that they know.
Well, in the trucks that pick it up.
Yes, yeah, but the amount recovered, because all the waste from all districts is all mixed together and they know how much is coming out. How much is actually being recovered from this district? I don't think we have a very good idea.
Well, I think Mike Ballier does the numbers for the city, and I think we've seen those in the past. But the city, how or what the city reports, we've seen in the past. But
yes, I would be curious to see one of their reports. And
Dr. Eccles, do you have your hand up?
know to produce. Yeah, their sustainability director does not seem to directly have a copy of it.
Cal Recycle would have copies of it, and that's where it's sent.
Scott, do we ever get a copy of that from the city? Because our part, we never get that. Okay. I've never seen it before either. It might be something to see, you know.
Yeah, I might be wrong in that regard, but do any of the directors have any other need to discuss item number 3?
No.
Thank you, staff. And Jim. Number 4, review and comment on proposed Senate Bill 1383 ordinance, mandatory organic waste disposal reduction. Scott, are you going to?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. So as you know, we were just discussing on January 1st, 2022, local jurisdictions in California will be required to implement one of the most progressive environmental laws in the country that will try to reduce emissions of short-lived climate pollutants. Your staff report describes in more details the requirements of SB 1383. Even though the main burdens for complying with the new law falls on cities and counties, the law does apply to special districts. The first step for the Costa Mesa Sanitary District is to adopt a mandatory organic waste disposal reduction ordinance. A draft ordinance is before you in your staff report. On October 22nd, the district's solid waste ad hoc committee reviewed and commented on the proposed ordinance. Those suggestions are made during the comments are identified in the attached second draft version of the ordinance in your staff report. Also last night, Mr. Mosier submitted comments to the proposed ordinance. His comments are also submitted to you before you today and is also available to the public. The draft ordinance is currently being reviewed by CRNR, and it will be reviewed by the Citizens Advisory Committee at their meeting tomorrow night. The draft ordinance is also being reviewed by District Council, and the final draft is anticipated to be ready for your adoption consideration on November 22nd. This morning, staff is seeking board comments on the proposed ordinance and direct staff to bring back the ordinance on November 22nd, 2021 for adoption consideration. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any of the directors have questions? It was a lengthy ordinance change.
Yeah, Scott, a couple things. So between now and our next board to ratify this ordinance. So we're going to have a couple groups, the Citizens Advisory Committee and legal look and tweak at this, right?
Right.
Will we have an opportunity at that meeting to then take their maybe recommendations, tweak it once more before we finally ratify it?
Sure. You're just saying if you want to tweak it some more on the 22nd, we can bring it back in December for adoption. Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I'm just kind of thinking in my head, there's going to be at least 2 more tweaks, if you will. It'd be nice to kind of see those before we officially ratify. And then a question on the, let's see, well, the fines and the enforcement. I'm trying to wrap my head around how this is going to play itself out. And I'm not sure because I see some recommended fines of $250, $220, something like that. Can you elaborate at all about enforcement and applying those type fines?
We have 2 more years. We don't need to enforce it until 2024. So we have some time and we haven't worked out all the details as far as the enforcement goes. We need to know who's going to be the lead agency to enforce it. Is it going to be the city? Is it going to be us? Do we give CRNR the authority? We don't know yet. We're still trying to work out those details. And we got a couple of years to work on it. Before it is the ordinance in place. If there is whatever direction we do go, at least there's a monetary fine identified what those violations are, and it's consistent with the trash cart in public view type fine. So when someone is which we never done, but if we ever cited someone for trash cart in public view, the first violation $75, second violation $150, third is $300. So it's consistent with that. So that's why we came up with those. That's why we came with those numbers. Again, that the board doesn't like those fines, you can adjust them if you want to.
And we could, for instance, do a first warning, no fines, second, 200, third, fourth, we could do what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, that's what the whole idea for this 2 years of education is just to really warn people, okay, look, we found you're in violation of the code, just FYI, come 2024, if it's consistent, you could be subject to a fine. Even if they get a fine, they do have due process rights, so they could appeal it, right? And so, especially if we go in, if we're the enforcing agency and it's administrative citation, that's another thing we need to want to consider in the future because then you have to have a hearing officer. Right now, it's me, and so if we start finding a lot of people, I'm gonna be pretty busy. And I think some agencies, some cities, they actually consult that out to someone else as the hearing officer. I think the city does that when they do parking violations. They have someone else as the hearing officer. So it's something to consider. But again, if they do get a citation, they have due process right, they can appeal it. And so it's not automatic, let's put it that way.
Who's going to have the decision on which entity is the primary enforcement?
It would be the board and the council will make those decisions.
But what if those 2 entities disagree? I mean,
yeah,
council says one thing, we say
we'll have to
another.
defer that to district council. We'll have to, the legal team will have to decide for us on that one.
Certainly, there are some parts of the law that is requires a special district to do certain things, and I would think you would have the paramount jurisdiction in that regard, whereas there's other matters that the city has primary just by the nature of the business operation of a city, and they would probably take primary there, but it would be good if we worked all of that out and smoothed that out so we're not stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, so we got some time, but that's so right now the focus is education. That's our primary focus right now this next 2 years.
I just have a quick question on this ordinance in the red. Is that what the ad hoc committee made changes to?
You'll see wherever my comments, you'll see it'll say ad hoc committee. Those are the changes they made.
Is that in this draft right here?
The written ones, that one's I think from Mr. Mosier.
Oh,
The written one.
No, I think it's ours, isn't it? Not sure. Nolani, which one did we print out for that the ad hoc committee did? Take a look.
If
I think,
you go to the electronic version,
is that ours? Okay, that's one, yeah, that we presented today. Did you see that, Scott?
yes.
That was just my question. That's what the ad hoc and the staff came up with the changes for the draft, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was just my question.
Were these, The proposed changes, were they made basically from Mike Ballier? He did.
I mean, the proposed ordinance.
He did the proposed ordinance for the city.
Yes, the proposed ordinance before you is basically the model, state model, which all the
State-
jurisdictions are pretty much adopting.
Yeah.
Obviously, our ordinance is not extensive as a city because there's certain requirements that we're not required to do, but
Right.
it's based on the state model.
And so that came from Ballier.
Yes.
I don't know if you were here, Scott, when we implemented those proposed fines. They were not for they're not for what they're being used for today. The code enforcement officers' duties and use. I think they've been adapted, and I cannot remember why it was so urgent to adopt those finding limits. And I think it was something entirely different. Were you here when we did that?
I was, the administrative citation ordinance was adopted when I was here.
Yeah.
It happened like within the first year or two when I was here.
But do you remember why we did it? I think it was some fog related or something.
Yeah, I don't know specifically why.
Anyway, and then we just sort of, wherever we needed to do fines, that thing was used.
Yeah, and maybe Alan can chime in, but I believe it just gave us some teeth. So if someone violates our ordinance, we have the authority to write citation rather than going through the court system,
Yeah.
right? Rather than misdemeanor, we can issue the administrative citation. I think that was the purpose of it, is to give our ordinance some more teeth if anyone. violates the ordinance. code
Okay,
operations
I hear you. It did give it more teeth and it was unintended consequences that it be applied to the trash. So I think we have quite a bit of latitude about being reasonable, up to the point of finally doing the finding. Actually, citizens can turn people in, that, neighbors can turn neighbors in. The code enforcement, city has a big code enforcement staff. One thing in the near future I'd like to hear is, are we still looking for a code enforcement officer? I mean, every time I hear David speak, the biggest word he's begun to recently use is interim code enforcement officer. So how long are we going to go with him as the interim code enforcement officer is a future topic that I'd like to hear about. Let's see, Jim, you got to weigh in. Did you weigh in on this?
Thank you again, President Uten. First of all, to Director Eccles' question, I think the city of Costa Mesa has already adopted their ordinance.
Yes.
Although it has provisions in it that require residents to have 3 carts in compliance with the most extreme version of SB 1383. It also has clauses in it that say that those provisions don't apply to customers of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District. And it has a number of clauses that say that although these are the city regulations, they are superseded where applicable by the district's residents, so that the two operate in some way together. Whether this has to have some reciprocity in the other direction, I don't know, but I kind of don't think so. So I think they have a carve out in that, but it needs to be verified, allowing the district to adopt its own fine and compliance policies, but I'm not totally sure about that. As to the revision we have before you, it has a lot of missing definitions and little picky things, but the main section that needs to be revised still is the definition AA, which is on page 6 of prohibited container contaminants, because that is what people are likely to be fined about in the future, is putting prohibited material in the trash carts. And as it's presently written, it is still in the first section mentioning blue carts, which we're not planning to have, blue containers. And in the last part, it's saying that it's a violation of the ordinance to put recycled materials in the black cart. And we certainly are wanting to allow people to put recycled materials in their black carts. So there's considerable revision needed in this. It was written imagining a three-cart system, and you are not wanting to immediately impose that. So it still needs considerable revision at one paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Do any of the directors have any more comments about item number 4?
Just as a follow-up to Mr. Mosher, Scott, is what he's saying, it does kind of look like a 3-cart thing. Is that something you can tweak?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Easily done.
Hearing none. Seeing none, let's go on to item number 5. Receive and file CRNR's benchmark measures report.
Yeah, Nabila Guzman will be given this report.
Okay. Thank you.
And members of the board, so this is just the October update for the benchmarks.
Can you, oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's no change to the first one due to the national delay in chips. It's still expected that the new trucks will arrive in February 2022. The complaints from Miss Trash Pickup did go down significantly in October to 16 from 35 in September. But the benchmark was to receive 174 for the 6 months, and they are at 181, so the benchmark is not met. Number 3 remained at 97.2. So CRNR was notifying staff of delays. That number will go down for November because there have been some delays that staff was not aware earlier this week. So that number would be updated for next month. The board will be receiving a updated Christmas tree plan for the collections this year. That is going to be presented to the board at the board meeting later this month on November 22nd. So CRNR will be present with their plan on how collections will be improved. Benchmark number 5 has been achieved. All the trucks, all CMSD fleet has the approved banner on the trucks. Benchmark number 6, staff has been able to review daily route data from July through October 2021. And we were able to verify that the loads over 12 tons have decreased. So Mag Valley 8 for fiscal year 19-20 found that 5 routes were constantly carrying over 12 tons. So the data from July to October 21 do show that there has been a significant decrease, which is good considering this is an aging fleet. Benchmark number 7, there is nothing new to report. And benchmark number 8 continues to, CRNR staff has been attending all in-person meetings, so they are meeting that benchmark. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Board members have any questions?
Just question, and I apologize, but I think that Scott is in your report last Thursday, Friday, whatever it was, that there was some late complaints coming in. Can you just describe what we were talking about?
Oh, yes, there was a report that came in last week for Murderwood. It came in again this week. So again, that will be reported for November.
Okay.
In the December meeting for the month of November, just because it was already November.
Oh, okay. So it was November, not October. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Well, Nabilia, can you explain why we are concerned about the number 6? Regulatorily, those trucks can weigh 80,000 pounds. So why, Do you remember what our issue, I do not remember what our issue was for why some of the trucks were over 12 tons.
That was concerning because our fleet is old. So Mike Valley pointed out that when the fleet is old and if they're carrying over 12 tons, although not illegal, causes the wear and tear on the trucks is greater. And it does reduce the ability to stop as fast as if it was under 12 tons. So it was not a major concern, but it was something that was highlighted as CRNR could do better.
Well, I'm still not sure I understand, why we're interested in, well, I need a better explanation of why we're interested in this topic, but, we can do that some other time. You're saying that the 12-ton problem is not a regulatory or a regulatory problem. Trucks can weigh 80,000 pounds or 80,000 tons or what, there's some number and there's wheel loads and things. So if they're meeting the wheel loads, I'm not sure why we're still interested in this, but we can talk at a different time or anyway, then do any of the other directors have questions on this item? I think CRNR is making substantial progress in on item number 2. I think we implemented this in June maybe, and I think they've taken notice. So this is looks like there is a substantial improvement, but they're not meeting the bar that that this board set. Do any of the directors have any further questions? Okay, closing items, oral communications and directors' comments. Do any of the directors have any more comments? If not, I apologize for being late. I have not adjusted to the 8 o'clock.
Apparently I'm blamed for that, so sorry.
I think it's a good thing.
But you're up walking at 6 o'clock.
I was up walking at 5 o'clock this morning, but, and I'm sure my schedule on my phone is correct. And so I apologize. So we need an extra gavel or we need a moving gavel. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.
Good job, Bob. Thanks, Bob. Hey, guys. Good, thanks.